Welcome to Raving Ryan. I'm your host, Ryan Anastasio. Today I have a very special guest, candidate for the 28th Senate District in Connecticut, JT Lewis. JT, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I want to talk about your story before we move into some of the state issues. In 2012, you tragically lost your brother Jesse in the Sandy Hook school shooting, and Jesse was a hero there, and he saved several lives. Can you tell us a little bit about the aftermath of that shooting and how you began to become involved both nationally and globally?
For sure, yeah. So during the shooting, it's a well-documented story. Jesse actually saved 9 of his classmates. This is all in an FBI report. When the shooter entered his classroom, Jesse yelled for his classmates to run. There was a moment where the gun jammed, and 9 of the classmates ran, and so he's credited with saving 9 lives. And he's actually given a commander-in-chief funeral for his actions, which is pretty amazing. And we shared that message with that story with President Obama and then President Trump years later, and they both had the same reaction. These are total polar opposite men. They hate each other, and they both had the same reaction to the story, which was to get emotional. President Obama cried. President Trump brought us back to the Oval Office for a private moment. I mean, it's a powerful story. And I'm running for state senate to honor Jesse, and I think I can use that message of unity, that message of helping, giving back, and I can use that to create some powerful change in Congress.
Yeah, I know you've talked with President Trump and the Vice President about getting a Medal of Honor for Jesse. What is the status of that?
Yeah, so we actually just had a meeting with Vice President Pence, and if that went really well, we explained I want Jesse to get a Medal of Honor for saving his classmates, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, actually.
Yeah.
And we shared that with Vice President Mike Pence, and he was very receptive. And he was actually headed over to meet with the president. He said he's going to bring it up. So that was about a month ago, and that's moving along.
Okay, and after you didn't get involved until school safety until a little bit later. You first started an organization called Newtown Helps Rwanda, and where you got connected with people from the survivors of the Rwandan genocide. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you started it?
Yeah, so a few weeks after the shooting, I hadn't gone back to school. I was about 12 years old, very depressed, very tough time in my life, just lost a brother. And so sitting at home alone, and actually had the opportunity to Skype with kids who had lost their entire families in the Rwandan genocide of 1994. Over 1 million people killed during that. And these are kids that lost their entire families. They lived off of grass, in the hills while their families were being murdered in front of them. And, they reached out to me, and their message was, there's hope. You'll get over this. You do get through tough times like this. And these are people who had gone through an experience, much worse in scale than I had. And that gave me hope. And I actually was able to go back to school, and I made a mission to raise money to send Betty to college for a year. It was the original young woman who Skyped me. And after a month, I went back to school, which was an amazing feat, honestly, at that time. And after a month, we were able to Skype back to Betty and say, we've raised enough money to send you to college for a year and pay for 8 younger siblings that she watched over. She's a sole provider for to live for that year. And then it turned into something huge. I mean, Tony Robbins came on and funded the rest of her 3 more years in college. And then we sent Matthew to college for 4 years, and we've started building fish ponds and poultry farms in Uganda for former child soldiers. We've done work here in Connecticut, actually, with the children of car crash victims. So it's been an amazing journey. Over $35,000 raised and donated over those years. And then I turned my focus to school safety, obviously.
Yeah, and I understand you won a Teen Choice Award for your work there.
Right behind you, the surfboard. Yeah, that was a pretty amazing experience. Got up there in front of millions of people. It was my first time, I think, doing media like that. And it was an amazing experience. They shared my story, starting Newtown Helps Rwanda, and that was an awesome experience. I got to meet some cool celebrities.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah, and there's also, I know your mom started an organization called the Jesse Lewis Choose Love Moment, and you were also involved with that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I'm interning there over the summer while I'm running for state senate. So basically what that is Jesse left a message on the chalkboard, the kitchen chalkboard in the other room, about a week before he died. It was nurturing, healing love from a 6-year-old boy. And my mom has taken that message and spread it across the world. This foundation, the Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement, the curriculum, social emotional learning curriculum, which is in schools in all 50 states, over 68 countries, and 1 million kids reached 6 years later. And this is in part, all her. I got to give her all the credit for that. She didn't get much support from our politicians in Connecticut, but it is doing very well. Connecticut is the #1 state right now but she didn't get support early on, and that's something that should have been done.
Yeah, then after Parkland, you began to become very active in the school safety movement, while others were involved with gun control. Can you tell me why you decided to focus just on school safety and not on gun control like many others?
Right, and it's not because I'm against, the gun control crowd. They're doing noble work. Whether or not I support them, they're doing noble work. But that being said, after Sandy Hook, we started the gun control argument. After Parkland, we started the gun control argument. And just after the shootings over the weekend, the 2 shootings, we're starting the gun control movement again. And is it working? I mean, they keep happening. And it all started 20 years ago with Columbine. That's really when this whole gun control movement started. And what I did is when I saw those kids get up in Parkland, it inspired me. Not because I agreed with what they said, because I felt sorry for them, frankly. I saw them, they just lost friends and family. And, they were starting down this road of gun control, which we had already tried in Sandy Hook and failed at, this national gun control movement. And
Do you think Connecticut has done good things after this shooting?
we passed a lot of laws here in Connecticut, but as far as a
Not
national,
nationally, yeah.
the problem with that is,
Do you think that's Mitch McConnell's fault?
I actually just did an interview this morning, and I called Mitch McConnell needs to let Congress vote. When we elected them, he won't even put them up. I mean, I'm a Republican, but I think that's ridiculous. You got to let Congress vote, and the American people just voted them in a few months ago. Let the American people have their day. Now, as far as the gun control bills in Connecticut go, it's great to get things passed on a state level, but you have surrounding states with weak gun laws, and the guns flow across the border, and mass shootings happen that easy. Just shootings day by day happen that easy. So state gun control bills don't work. It has to be a national gun control bill if you really want effective change, which I don't think is ever going to happen. I'm not going to try to hitch my horse to that wagon. It's not going anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere in the last 20 years. So I started the school safety movement. I started getting involved with that, and that is securing schools, hardening schools with police, cameras, metal detectors, whatever you can do to harden the school. And that's not arming teachers. That was in the federal school safety report. The only part of the report that I didn't agree with. Of course, you can't arm someone who doesn't want to be armed. I think that's simple. But other than that, the report's been great. The response from the president to the Parkland tragedy as far as creating the report, and also coupling that with funding from the Stop School Violence Act. Hundreds of millions of dollars went around the country to secure schools, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think you're right on the point when you talk about states making laws. We saw that last week in the shooting in Gilroy where the person bought the gun in Nevada and then went into California. But this week we've seen 2 mass shootings in less than 24 hours in Dayton and in El Paso. And in Dayton, the shooter killed 9 people in less than a minute with an AK-47 style rifle. In El Paso, an AR-15 was used. There was even a paper such as the New York Post, which is a very historically conservative paper, called for these type of guns to be banned. Do you agree with that?
That's something I want to look at when I become a state senator. Obviously, my focus hasn't been on that. It's been on solutions such as mental health. Mental health has been huge. People started to say after the recent shootings it's not mental health, that they're not mentally unstable people.
Oh, they all are,
If you go into a crowd and you kill people, you're mentally unstable. I don't care what you say. You can't just try to blame the gun, because it was the gun and we took them, the way I look at it, there's over 250 million guns in the country. Yeah. We're not going to get rid of them all.
No.
That's just, it's too late, honestly. The country was built on, it's been 250 years of guns. You're not going to change that overnight, as we've found out over the last 20 years since Columbine.
Yeah, do you think it's possible to keep these places safe, such as the place in El Paso and Dayton? There were cops on the scene, and they got there in a minute, but they can't really get there much faster. So do you think that maybe it's kind of impossible to guard these places so much? I know you could probably do it in schools, but you can't guard every single place out there.
Right. Well, this is where it gets really complicated. In schools, you can have. I just met with Simply for Safety. He's a guy making bulletproof classrooms, basically. He gave a really nice pitch. We walked into the room. We sat down at the table. It's kind of a classroom environment, and he told us how it worked. And then he said, "Look behind you," and the walls were bulletproof, and you wouldn't even know it. I mean, it's a secure room, and you don't even know it. And so things like that are amazing and very low priced. It's affordable for schools, all schools, because of all the money in the Stop School Violence Act. Now, as far as securing concerts and open venues, that's much more difficult, yes. And that's why I want to focus on the mental health aspect, because we can stop them from wanting to do this in the first place. On top of that, red flag laws, because all these people give off signs.
Governor of Ohio has been talking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The president has been too. All these people give off signs. The Parkland shooter posted videos how he wanted to be famous and he was going to kill people. He planned it out. Same with the Sandy Hook shooter. Many signs throughout his entire childhood, ever since he went to that school, the elementary school, 15 years earlier. Plenty of signs. I think the FBI was tipped off twice about the Parkland shooter. The police visited his home over 20 times, I think 30 times. And so obviously we should be able to target these kids. We've had plenty of experience at this point. Now we should be able to target them, and I think that's also something we need to focus on.
And do you think it's time that Congress passes laws for more background checks and to make sure that if you're on a no-fly list, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun?
Yeah, every American has the right to own a firearm. Every law-abiding American has the right to own a firearm. That's very important. And there are a lot of Americans that aren't law-abiding, and we need to target them and make sure that they don't get a gun until they're cleared through the system. I mean, this is very simple. People that threaten other people shouldn't be able to own a gun. It does get tricky when the government comes in and starts deciding what a threat is and what, that kind of stuff is very tricky, which is why we always circle back to the mental health aspect. We just need to get these people early in their lives before they form these crazy ideas like they are.
Yeah, I want to move on to Connecticut issues now because those are the types of things that you will be dealing with. But first, you're challenging incumbent state senator Tony Hwang, who is someone that's very respected on both sides of the aisle in Connecticut, and he's has been in Hartford for a while, and he knows the play. He knows what he's doing there. Do you think that? Why did you decide to challenge Senator Hwang? I know you said that he didn't respond to one of your requests.
Right, that's why I'm challenging him. Yeah. He's become the example of failing leadership in Connecticut. Someone who's been in Congress for 10 years, and our state continues to go down the tubes.
He's been in the minority party, though.
Well, he has, yeah, but as far as me, it's not about the parties, it's about unity. I think I can work with people across the table, as I've shown I can. I don't think he can, honestly. Now, you get small bills passed, that's great. But as far as the state overall, it's going down the tubes. And as far as school safety, that has never been addressed. It's funny, a week after I announced, he got school safety funding for his Fairfield schools. He just did it 6.5 years after the tragedy. I mean, that's ridiculous. We need better leadership than that. And that's something I can bring. I told you the story of how Jesse saved 9 of his classmates, and we brought that to 2 presidents, complete opposite ends of the spectrum, and it united them. And I'm going to use that story to bring both sides of the table together. It's a story that unites us, and I think as a position where I am, I can bring people together. That's something he could never do. So that's how I'm different there.
Do you have any other policy differences with the senator?
Well, so obviously the state is failing. And, they're talking about tolls, they're talking about new taxes, and the Republicans say, no, we don't want tolls, we don't want new taxes, but with no solutions. That's very tough. So as far as that, we need to start addressing...
what would be your solution for infrastructure?
Yeah, infrastructure is big. We're spending 3 times as much on the roads, on upkeep on roads in Connecticut than the average level for states in the country. It's 3 times as many dollars going to roads. Now, if we can get in there and we can look at the budget, we can cut things. I mean, obviously, our spending is insane. If we could cut the spending, which we can, if we just spent the same as all other states, we don't even have to look at tolls. It's that simple.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about tolls. I know you're against it, and you said that...
As a college student that goes to college...
Goes to UConn, you'll be paying a lot of tolls.
I'll be paying a lot of tolls. I'm going to get killed on that. If someone has to pay for college and then pay for tolls, that's insane.
Yeah, but I think a lot of argument by the Democrats is that there's just no place... There really isn't money for this infrastructure. Of course, you can cut down the cost a little bit, but that's not going to make a huge difference.
That's millions of dollars right there.
Would you be in favor of any tolling option, maybe bridges or trucks if they could do that? I know there's been challenges in Rhode Island.
It's almost impossible, right? Yeah. Tolling doesn't work. I just talked to a neighbor across the street. He does well. He works in Hartford. And tolls, I believe we looked at Lamont's package he wants to pass, and tolls would cost him $8 a day, almost each way, $8 a day to get to his job across the state. That doesn't work. I mean, that's not physically responsible at all for families trying to struggle to get by in a state that's budget, is collapsing. That's deficits are way too, it's not feasible in this state to add that stress on top of the citizens of the state who are suffering so badly in a state that's being poorly run.
Yeah, I want to talk more about driving businesses in. You obviously taxes could be part of it, but a lot of these companies such as GE, Alexion, they went to Massachusetts, a state that does have pretty high taxes. So what else do you think we need to do? Obviously, do you think Connecticut's a place where a young person would want to live?
No, it's very unfortunate. I'm looking at all the latest research on it. People are leaving so fast. Connecticut.
Yeah, college students do not want to stay here.
Yeah, all my friends are going to college in other states, and I'm like, you guys coming back? Nope. No, they're not coming back. Someone's going to Arizona, Michigan. They're all Ohio, all over the place. They're not coming back. I mean, their families live here. That's how bad it is. That's how hard it is to get a job out of college in Connecticut, which scares me. Thank God I'm going into the state senate, right? Or I'd be pretty hard pressed for a job here. Hopefully, I can get in there and change that. Obviously, more jobs. The steel factory is one big part. I mean, we're going to add 20 jobs. It sounds small, but it's big for those 20 families that are going to have incomes.
Do you think it's possible to compete with these places such as New York and Boston?
Yeah, absolutely. Connecticut used to be a very rich state. I mean, we used to have all these companies coming from these states to us, and we just need that spark of energy to start bringing them back. We'll bring jobs back into the state. You know, people are leaving very fast. I'm reading all these articles about how fast people are leaving, and high tax people are leaving because taxes are too high here. And so we need to start bringing them back. Maybe look at lowering taxes in addition to cutting spending. It'll only take about a year, and we'll get the state moving again.
Yes, I want to talk a little bit about your electability. Obviously, you're a very vocal supporter of the president, and he's not very popular in the state. It may help you in the Republican primary, but do you think it's going to be difficult for you in the general election? Are you going to try to distance yourself from the president?
I don't think I need to distance myself from him. Look, you know, he says some bad stuff sometimes, obviously. But as far as the national economy, it's something we need to tap into here in Connecticut. It's something we haven't been able to because of all the regulations still in Connecticut that were taken off on the federal level. Obviously, some regulations important, but over-regulating companies like they are here, you know, just to run for state senate, the amount of paperwork I had to fill out was insane. You know, I spent 2 weeks filling out paperwork. I just got clearance to start fundraising a week ago, 2 weeks after I announced. I mean, that's insane. So as far as regulations, we need to cut them.
Yeah, so the state senate, they say it's a part-time job and does have a part-time salary, but it's not really a part-time job. And in addition to you going to the Capitol, you got to be out in the community, having coffee hours and meeting the residents. So how are you going to manage this? Because you will be, when you start, you will be a student at the time.
Right, so I'll be a student at UConn.
Yeah.
I'm currently a student at UConn, starting my sophomore year in a few weeks. It's pretty simple. Senator Wong has a day job. He is a realtor.
Yeah.
I will be taking classes at night at UConn Waterbury, very close to home, about 20-minute commute. It's pretty easy. I'll take 2 classes, and I'll work in the state senate and devote my time to that, obviously.
Yeah. Do you think the state legislature should be a full-time job?
Yeah, it should be, but the way they're doing it right now, obviously not. I don't think we should pay them at all right now.
Because they can only get stuff done half the year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, that's tough when you can't vote all the time. We can't get things passed all the time. When you have like right now, for example, especially in the National Congress, for example, 2 shootings over the weekend, but Congress can't get together to pass anything because they're all in recess. And the same thing happens in Connecticut. You have all this momentum to get something passed. We have this great new idea. Can't get it. Yeah, and then the momentum dies off by the time they all gather again, which is unfortunate. But no, I don't. It should be. It is a full-time job. I don't think it should be billed as a full-time job because they're not doing their job.
Yeah, and I want to finish up with some personal questions. Can you tell us like what some of your hobbies are and what organizations you're involved with at UConn?
For sure. Yeah. So I played football at UConn. Actually, my locker thing is right there. I can't play anymore. I'm devoting my time to running for the state senate. But that was a fun experience at UConn. Yeah. Great team. I look forward to going to the games at least and repping my candidacy. UConn's been great. Been able to access some scholarship money, which has been nice for that. Hobbies are working on a national level to pass the school safety movement, get that work done. There hasn't been much free time. This morning we did 2 interviews in Hartford. I've done 10 Fox interviews. I've been all over the country doing this. Yeah, we're just in Dallas. I mean, it's been an amazing journey, and we've gotten a lot done. Obviously, so much more to do, and that's why I'm here running.
Yeah, speaking of UConn in the football program, UConn is moving into the Big East, and there is no football program in the Big East. What did you make of the move? Do you think it was a good idea?
I was a kicker. My motto in high school, people won't like that I said this, my motto in high school is I just showed up for the games and tried my best. I didn't get involved with all the politics of it.
Yeah.
The football team was hurting in the division it was in, obviously, 1-11, I think, last season. The team's going to be much better this season. I got to see them in the spring when I played. So we'll be much better and obviously in a better division for us.
For basketball,
yeah. For basketball. And, I was close friends with some of the basketball kids. It was fun. We got to play on the practice courts.
Nice.
And, so it's good for UConn, I think.
Yeah, do you have any favorite sports teams though, professionally?
Yeah, the Giants. I
Giants,
have to
yeah,
shout
same
out the
here.
G-men. Yeah, for sure. It's been a tough few years.
It has, yes.
Yeah, there's going to be. I don't want to sell them short this year, but I'm not optimistic.
Okay.
We don't want to waste Saquon while we have him, so
Yeah.
we gotta get a good quarterback.
Do you think it's Eli's last year?
You know, they've been talking about playing this new guy. They've been talking about sitting him for like 3 years. He's got this rookie contract, this astronomical.
Daniel Jones,
Daniel Jones. I hope he's good. I mean, Eli, I wouldn't have picked him first overall, but he's been great for the Giants. I'm excited. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to finish up with a very difficult question I ask everyone. Connecticut's very well known for its pizza places. Do you have a favorite in the state?
Ooh, you know, here we go to pizza places. You know, I don't want to lose voters. I probably shouldn't.
You gotta say,
I'm
Senator Wong said.
I'm a politician now. What did he say? Just out of curiosity.
Colony Grill in Fairfield.
Yeah, I should probably pick a Fairfield pizza place, right? That's where I'm getting all my votes. Yeah, I can't pick a place.
Pepe's or Sally's?
Sally's.
Okay, good choice. JT, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you go check out my website, ravingryan.com. Reporting for Raving Ryan, I'm Ryan Anastasio.